The head of the African Union's observer mission and former Nigerian president Monday said that despite some handicaps, the parliamentary election in Ethiopia is going reasonably well. I came 5 days ago as the chief of the African Union mission, and over the period I have met the leadership of this country and officials involved in the organization of the elections, Olusegun Obasanjo said, after touring the polling stations in Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Obasanjo said, "The general impression is that this election, despite some handicaps, is a lot better than the previous one in terms of opening the space for electoral participation. The handicaps are of course understandable," he said, adding that the lack of security, the ongoing pandemic, and some problems on the logistics side were among the handicaps, but the election organizers have done their best and the process has gone reasonably well. He said he went out of Addis Ababa and saw voters waiting patiently outside polling stations to cast their vote. According to Obasanjo, party representatives were already there at polling stations and so far there were no complaints. At a polling station of the Kirkos sub-city, Obasanjo came across Ethiopian President Sahle Work Zwede, who was there to cast her ballot. Voters in 78 of a total of 547 constituencies across the country will have to wait until September 6th to vote due to some logistical, security, and administrative issues. The country has also introduced transparent ballot boxes in this election, and more than 37.4 million registered voters with at least 547 federal parliament members. As many as 9,175 candidates have been fielded by 47 political parties, while 125 joined the contest independently in the polls being conducted at more than 49,407 polling stations. Voting in the country's first attempt at free and fair elections is described as mostly peaceful so far. However, violence has been cited in some areas while opposition parties have boycotted the poll in others. Ethiopia's elections chief said complaints by the opposition of irregularities in 2 regions risked tarnishing the polls on Monday, billed by the government as the country's first free and fair vote after decades of repression. Election Board Chief Burtukan Medeksa said several opposition parties had complained their agents were beaten and their badges confiscated in 2 regions. Opposition leader Berhanu Nega said his Ethiopian Citizens for Social Justice Party, Izima, had filed 207 complaints. Local officials and militia prevented observers from entering many polling stations in the Amhara region and in the southern nations, nationalities, and peoples regions, he said. Abiy's reforms include unbanning political parties, gatherings, and media outlets and releasing political prisoners. But Fazia Tekel from the rights group Amnesty International said the government was still quashing dissent using a revised anti-terrorism law and new hate speech legislation. The government is using these laws to arrest people and keep them in prison for a long time, Fazia said. But previously told me there is no permit being violated. However, it cannot be said that